Welcome back to the GameShow Global Esports Cup here on GameShow_D2EN. Are we doing another remake? They didn't change to all pick. So hopefully we're just going to pick through this. We've already seen this, so maybe this will help refresh some of our memories. Void Boys will open up with the first pick, Slaughter. I was going to be picked up out of order for Root Gaming, but eventually they'll get there with their draft. The IO partner this game is going to be the Slark, although for now they're just going to pick up the Winter Wyvern. Doesn't matter when you get them as long as you get your heroes. And for these bans it is going to use some stats somewhere, but I suppose this isn't actually ticketed, so it actually doesn't matter. We'll just keep on banning out these heroes as if nothing happened. We're still in game number 1, Void Boys versus Root Gaming. In the standings in the groups, they're both 1-1. 1-2-0 win, 1-0-2 loss apiece, as they both sat on 3 points. This next series is really going to be telling as to whether or not they're going to be able to finish up top in the top 2 slots in the group of 7. This should be some pretty hot contest. It'll be very interesting to see who's able to take the victory. Our last 2 remaining heroes for Root, the Slark and the Beastmaster, should be coming up shortly. It'll be really interesting to see how Root are going to be able to use these heroes as a whole. They're very ultimate reliant, and they are also going to be very much so reliant on using those ultimates effectively across the map. Pretty much a tempo controlled game from both sides, but Void Boys have much better consistent aggression. The cooldown of the Avalanche Toss combo and from the Slaughter's initiation, even the Lina's burst, is significantly less. You don't necessarily need to have that Laguna Blade in order to effectively jump. We'll be looking at a game in just a bit. So go ahead and change the overlays, and we'll go back and see how these lanes are going to shake down. We're going to have a pause coming out from the Beastmaster. Really would like to just get this game underway, if I'm honest, but that last remake was actually so ridiculous. I'm not sure if they're allowed to do that, but Void Boys are going to replace one of their players. Back to their more official roster, I suppose. This should be Shanks on the Dazzle to join the rest of their teammates. Good to go. Onward, forward into this game. TP down to the bottom lane already from the Winter Wyvern. It's going to secure an early lane ward for the Root side. And also, we're going to have a couple of reports traded back and forth. The Courier is going to be dropped inside the base. And it looks like that is going to be deployed by the Beastmaster, who actually has no Courier cosmetic. Which is probably more rare than seeing a Courier skin in all honesty. No, Derp on this Winter Wyvern is going to lead the charge towards the bottom rune spot for their team, but Void Boys are coming in force. Snaking is here on the Lina. If they catch a single stun onto a hero, or just a glimpse, even though it is fairly short range for the Disruptor, they could very easily get a kill here if Root are not careful, but it looks like they are. The IO is more interested in taking out these trees between the medium and the large camp, and will successfully do so, allowing them to pretty effectively double stack up. Root don't have the greatest heroes to benefit from those double stacks, and that's actually not going to be an option. Sentry Ward will be placed down by the Disruptor to block out the left large camp. And a lot of wards are going to be committed into the enemy woods in order to block out the camps. The small pole camp is going to be blocked not only by the sentry inside the trees, but by the Observer also on the floor. Even if the Observer gets dewarded, at least it's going to force Root to use a lot more of their gold. And when you have the IO that's rushing straight for the bottle, the Winter Wyvern just flat out can't afford the sentries for a long time. So the Slaughter plus the Dazzle should be having a pretty good time in this bottom lane against the Winter Wyvern Slark. It's really hard to call who has a major advantage here. Both the Slark and the Slaughter should be able to get a decent amount of farm. It should be interesting to see who actually pulls ahead. Not a lane that I'm confident in saying who has the edge. And also in mid, not a lane that I'm confident in saying who has the lead, because I'm not sure if either of them do, at least in a 1v1. Now that the IO is here, the Queen of Pain should be feeling a lot more confident. Although the Dragon Slave is going to fly, Snaking going to take a couple more shots on the retreat. Not something that Lina can really react to, especially because of this dual lane coming up from Void Boys. It is going to mean that, for the most part, Lina is 100% solo. Disruptor and Dazzle just aren't the greatest at rotating around. Also interesting is the fact that the Beastmaster against the Titan Disruptor should probably be able to get a good amount of farm too. He has the creep wave at a really good spot, Caparos, and with these boars is going to be able to trade hits effectively. The damage coming out from those boars early is really going to do a number. Snaking under his tower is going to take a lot of damage. They don't have another blink for 9 seconds, so snaking is going to be fine. At least I'd expect so. Throws out another Dragon Slave to get closer and closer towards that bottle, but in general is really getting messed up. Survives on 50 HP. It's going to be First Blood on the Slark down in the bottom lane. Is they're going to be able to bring him down with the crush coming out from the Slaughter? I really did not expect the Slark to be the one giving up First Blood. He went for Essence Shift 1. Although against the Slaughter solo, this is a pretty good choice to be able to trade hits. Against the Slaughter and the Dazzler, you do need to respect the burst damage coming out from that heal, most importantly. Now Winter Wyvern is going to be collapsed upon. Arctic Burn is available, so Derp isn't going to die here, but is forced to use that Arctic Burn defensively. We'll try to look for another shot onto the Slaughter, but yeah, again, apologies for missing that First Blood. It's just not in the spot that I expected, and it is going to prompt a lane switch coming up from Root as they move the Slark up in the top lane against the Disruptor and Tiny. I'm not sure if this is a better lane for the Slark at all. With all of this rotation around, the Slark is going to be suffering a lot for farm. Although still probably will get a good amount of experience. Yeah, very, very interesting. I'm really curious to see who actually gets an edge here across the board. It feels like Void Boys are just getting a little bit more out of the map, but not by much. The Tiny is on par with the Queen of Pain in mid, and even though Lina is slightly behind the Queen of Pain, also it's a situation where it's not by a lot. 8 and 6 compared to 10 and 5, for all intents and purposes, could be considered even. And Lina is forced to fray another salve, which is the real advantage for the Queen of Pain. Having the extra assistance from the Isle in the mid lane will mean that her bottle is going to fly out sooner. Oh, blinking in behind the Lina. She has a Light Strike array. Can Snaking get out of here alive? Light Strike is going to be beautifully juked by the side of Root. They have a shallow grave, allowing the Lina to still right-click against the Queen of Pain, but Snaking probably will fall. The salve? Is that going to save his life? It will. With a little bit of help from the Tango too, but not altogether healthy. A little bit more healing support from the Dazzle, but Snaking really is starting to struggle. If you're able to dodge the Light Strike rate, Lina has no defensive tool to get herself out to safety. That was really nicely done by Root, reading the animation perfectly. Slark rotating in the top lane doesn't seem like it's hurt him too much. Is able to farm. Killing off this Slark is almost an impossibility for them. Unless they can get in melee range for a full Avatos combo, and even then, probably not until level 5. But this Slaughter is getting a lot of space. Omega Poner is level 4, has his Tranquil Boots already running. And against the Beastmaster, it shouldn't really be shut down in farm, although he is very low on mana right now. Second round of runes going to come up from either side. The Dazzle is going to walk down towards the bottom area. Now let's see what it's going to be. Regeneration rune. Probably save that for the Slaughter or the Lina. Lina has her bottle coming out and is under a tower. Lina's probably just going to Bottle Crow here. And that'll mean that the regeneration is freely picked up by the Dazzle. With this extra bit of mana, it's going to help out Snaking in lane, it seems. Down towards bottom, the Eye is going to come around. Omega Poner taking a lot of damage. This is lethal with the amp from the sprint. Not even close. Well, I mean, it was relatively close, but not close to lethal. The Slaughter is going to be able to retreat. With that Tranquil Regen, we'll be able to stick around in lane, severely mitigating the amount of harass the Beastmaster is able to apply. A lot of heroes in this game are getting a lot more than you'd expect, especially in the offlane. Both the Beastmaster and the Tiny, although they started out on opposite sides of the map, have ended up being 1 for 1. Again, they're going to look for this kill on Snaking. Will find it. Light Strike Array this time isn't juked up by the Queen. With the heal from the Io, the Queen of Pain is not going to end up dying to Omega Poner. How do they keep this Lina in this lane? It is just a 1 for 1 kill trade after all, but still this Lina is really hampered when it comes to her ability to play aggressively in this lane, get kills, and a lot of the gold that she's getting from these last hits is being invested into regen. She's bought 2 salves, only has the bottle, not even enough for boots at this point. Lina can still contribute without anything, just getting the levels is enough for them to be able to find burst kills. This Tiny is going to burst down the Slark. I'm missing kills left and right on this Slark, and Queen of Pain mid lane. Ooh, close call, the Dragon Slave is going to fly. But again, this Slark seems like he's just getting cut out way too aggressively. They get in melee range. I can only imagine that was the Avalanche Toss combination coming into play to get that kill. Oh, 0 and 2 on this Slark. A really sad hero to have such an early disadvantage on. He's not farming super slow, but those 2 deaths are really going to put a damper on things. He needs his ultimate to be able to survive, and Void Boys, even with the ultimate, have tools that they can use to deal with this Slark. jump on him before he's ready. I really didn't think it would be until we saw blink daggers coming up from the Tiny and the Slaughter before the Slark would die so consistently. And now Slark just needs to constantly play afraid. He has the Mango, he has the Salve, that's a good amount of sustain, but I don't think it's quite enough. With dual lanes, it's really easy to see kills across the entire map. There's so many missteps that could happen, and maybe down towards bottom one will happen. Omega Proner is slowed down to a crawl, the double Boras will chase. With the Dazzle T being in, the Beastmaster isn't able to get that kill, but with 2 points in the axes, really did quite a number onto this Slider. The Beastmaster is getting an edge over the Slider in this lane. That's pretty surprising considering the fact that Slider got the first blood on the Slark. The power of the Boar Slow against melee here really is quite something. Beastmaster does commit the Roar for that last exchange onto Omega Proner in an attempt to get the kill, unsuccessfully though. But still, you might as well try for it. Fairly early, or even early game for both of these teams. Not a huge lead either way. And I don't think anybody expected that. I don't think we're going to get super aggressive until those blink daggers comes up, or if they find a burst yell onto the Lina. She was just too low, tanking the creeps, and with the scream and as well as the sonic wave, Queen of Pain has so much damage. You really have to respect that if she has the mana for it. And Snaking's gonna get cut out under a tower. Very straightforward, clean kill for the Queen of Pain. Yeah, Snaking really is having quite a lot of trouble. Usually at this point, Lina has been involved in some sort of action around the map. And again, this Lark is going to require some assistance from the Winter Wyvern as they try to get in range for the Avatos. Patsoul isn't quite able to do that yet, but Slark will be able to get out to safety. Once he has level 6, life gets a lot easier for this Slark. Even if the Avalanche Toss combo flies, unless it's enough to instantly kill him, he is going to be able to regen back up pretty heavily. The Tiny's able to play so aggressively, though. He has not much to fear from this Slark when it comes to his killing potential onto the Tiny. We have another Roar available. Maybe Kepler Ross wants to look for a kill onto the Slider again. If he has the double Boars, which he does right now, a good amount of damage can fly there. Another Pounce forced out. As Tiny was fishing for the Avalanche, but has yet to throw it out. A little bit surprised that Tiny hasn't thrown just a casual harass toss onto the Slark, because he is just not at that level 6 mark yet. Maybe that would be enough to set up for a kill, even without the bonus damage on the tossed unit, or the double damage on the Avalanche, if you do line that up all perfectly. Tier 1 tower in mid lane taking a lot of damage, and with those spirits connecting, Snaking needs to be very careful. They don't have a sonic wave. At the very least, they don't have to deal with that, but just the scream in and of itself is quite a lot of burst damage that Snaking isn't 100% prepared to deal with. He has a dazzle behind him though, so should be fine. Things have slowed down for a little bit, but the teams are still posturing for aggressive moves and looking for those opportunities to find kills. Smoke up on, or bot up by the Lina. I wonder where they want to go. Level 7 on the Lina. You really want to find a kill, but up towards top lane with the ultimate. Slark is going to dive, kills off the Disruptor. They don't have an Avalanche. They already threw it out, and the toss isn't going to be lethal onto the Slark. Now partnered up with the Io. Disruptor is very vulnerable to getting jumped by a Slark. Once he pops that ultimate, there's very little you can do, especially pre-level 6. In fact, there really just is nothing you can do with that amount of damage going your way. That kill is going to help out the Slark a lot in coming back to this game. He's still not comfortable with his situation relative to the enemy team, but he's able to contribute. With level 6 now is a lot harder to bring down. For 27 seconds, that is not going to be available. Laguna Blade bottom lane. They'll get the jump onto the Beastmaster, as he's been pushing out that lane very liberally. Up towards top, they're going to jump into the Tiny. The Splinter Blast is going to connect. They have a Pounce to follow up, and it is going to land a Patsoul. They toss the Tiny away towards the Winter Wyvern. Slark is very low here. Without ultimate, can't really go comfortably for any more. There's a Mango, and Wand charges up for the Tiny, and would have been able to get off the combo. Arctic Burn going to cancel a Salve. That's a bit of a blow for the Tiny. But in mid lane, they're going to blink forward behind Snaking. He's able to land the Light Strike Ray. This time he doesn't have a Laguna, but with a glimpse back, the Queen of Pain will be denied the kill on her lane opponent. Only 1 point in the Shadow Strike will be far from enough damage to kill off the Lina. This is only a glimpse of the aggression that can come sooner, or come down, or later down the line, I mean. Once you have the initiating items, Shadow Blade or a blink on the Slark, a blink on this Beastmaster, although it looks like he's going to go for the Necro through Rush, but more importantly, just a blink on the Void Boys, Slardar and Tiny. Mid lane, the Queen of Pain has been able to take a tier 1 tower down in the meantime. with so much action happening, especially that rotation down towards bottom lane, although it is a successful one and a very good one coming out from snaking, it does come at the cost of a lot of tier 1 damage, which eventually will mean that the tower falls. Tiny has his bracer, is incredibly tanky for this stage of the game. 1400 HP is going to be very difficult for Root to bring down. And also is just dishing a lot of damage in return. Right clicks can't be underestimated, but it really is all about that Avatos combo for the time being. A little bit sad that he delays his blink, but the first one he should be seeing from this game is from Omega Poner. Seeing about 1860 damage, or 1860 gold, will be very easy to get that blink dagger if he doesn't die. Which he very well might. For now, it looks like he's safe enough. They don't have a perfect read on where the Queen of Pain is, and they have a relocate. Even if they try to go aggressively, or the Queen of Pain with the relocate Sonic Wave could very easily turn this. Arctic Burn, going to get the Winter Wyvern out to safety, and will fly under the tier 1 tower. Winter Wyvern will be fine. Here comes the Queen of Pain, though. Picks up the Haste Rune. Going to keep that in the bottle, as Queen of Pain is going towards that Orchid. Blinking in, going for snaking solo. There's not a lot of mana to speak of on this Lina. Sonic Wave! Snaking is going to survive, gets the power treads delivered, but turning around on this Queen of Pain is going to be very difficult. They have the glimpse, vision, slaughters there with the crush, but the blink away, and Queen of Pain is going to survive. Didn't have to use the blink defensively, was just able to run out there with the haste rune, so had some sort of counterplay. But up in top lane, to relocate in for the Beastmaster War, they kill off the Tiny. The massive amount of map mobility coming out from Root is going to cost them, or isn't going to get them the kill on the Lina. But it is going to get the kill on the Tiny with so many TPs being spent to save Snaking's life. And they really did need those TPs. Without it, they lose the Lina. Although the Tiny would be a lot easier to protect. This is where Root are at their strongest. When they're able to force a reaction, and maybe even a bit of an overreaction from Void Boys. And then they're able to relocate in and punish that by going on any hero globally on the map as long as they have the vision in order to do so. Right now, their wards aren't super impressive, but they have the Beastmaster Hawk, too. Since it is nighttime, the Hawk is a lot less impressive than it otherwise would be. But just by knowing how many TPs were spent in mid, that's enough. Lina is probably going to want to go towards that Eul's Scepter, but it's so much delayed compared to the farm that the Queen of Pain is getting. This Orchid's going to have a large time in the game where it's very effective. Maybe not for killing off the Slaughter and the Tiny, especially the Tiny is just a little too tanky to bring down a full burst combo of the Queen of Pain, even though it is very potent. It's going to kill off the Lina, probably a couple times. Once she gets her Eul's Scepter, she'll be mostly immune, just to be able to purge off that silence, or maybe if she's going to time that well, dodge a Sonic Wave, or just to scream any amount of damage from the Queen of Pain 2, taken off the table would be amazing, but the supports are really going to be the ones that fuel the burn of the Orchid. The Disruptor and the Dazzle are very crucial for Void Boys to be able to take these fights, but finally we have that Blink Dagger up for the Slider, and Omega Opponent is going to start hunting. 1-0 and 1. The Slider hasn't been absent on this map, but for the most part it's just been waiting for this timing window to where you can get this Blink Dagger up and running. It is such an important tool to have on your Sliders. And one of the ways that Void Boys can start taking fights on their own terms. Tiny might even consider investing for one of his own. Although maybe just Drums and Agdams isn't terrible either. Up to personal preference, but smoked up Void Boys want to go on the move. The Beastmaster's already incredibly low as he tries to farm up Ancients, and successfully so. He's going to get a couple of these creeps, and Slark might be able to mop up this last one. Already so low, they'll be able to get it. But back to the smoke gank. The Hawk is around the corner, maybe giving them a false sense of security, as Omega Poner and company are going to be roaming around through the enemy woods unsuccessfully. Yellow pings from the Queen of Pain. It looks like they're just too deep. Void Boys do not have aggressive ward vision. That's one of the things that's kind of lacking from that smoke. If you're going to go for that rotation, what you're hoping for is to find an enemy hero, but at the very least, get some wards down on the enemy side of the map so you're able to spot out those rotations. Of course, Slark can very easily know if there are wards placed down, but Slark has been mostly sticking around this top lane and might not spot it out before it gets them a pick off or two. He's going to place the sentry down in the lane, able to use that vision, or knowledge that he is spotted with the passive of his ultimate, to take out a very quick D ward with the Quelling Blade. Slark needs to be careful. It looks like he's posturing to jump into this tiny. The pounce is going to connect. Patzel turns, waiting for the purge. Is going to avalanche toss onto Kappa Ross. Turning for the roar. Patzel's going to drop low. They have the Shell Grave to keep the tiny alive, and here comes Staking. Relocate in. They're going to go Winter's Curse onto Omega Poner with just a scream and the right clicks and a couple of Wisp Spirits. Winter Wyvern will secure the kill on the Slaughter, and the Slark is back up to almost full. Static Storm's going to keep the Queen of Pain in place as they Light Strike Array inside the Storm. Laguna Blade will kill off the Queen. A 1-for-1 exchange. So many heroes dropping low. Tiny wants to find his combo. Avalanche will fly. Toss a little bit delayed because of cooldown reasons, but they'll still be able to get derp. Tipping the scales in favor of Void Boys. So many close escapes in that exchange. Wait until the fight recap to call who's the convincing winner, but it does feel like Void Boys got it, and the numbers are going to agree. The Slaughter kill is annoying for Omega Poner, but he has his blink. That's all the Slaughter really needs to be able to contribute. And with just that blink dagger, although he might die in the process, he can set up some really good fights for his team. Radiant Vision is going to keep tabs of this Slaughter as they go for the remainder of that tier 1 tower, and they will be able to successfully take that one down. Destruction goes the way of the Slark. Slark's net worth is not that bad. If you ask where it's been invested, it's the Shadow Amulet on the Courier, so he's going to go for that Shadow Blade, just about 1,000 gold. But the bigger pickup for Root, as they're going to look to bring the momentum back in their favor, is the Orchid on the Queen of Pain that I've already touched on is a very crucial pickup, especially since the Lina is still quite a ways away from having that Yule Scepter. I'd like to see them smoke up with it. There is a smoke on this Courier, and I think they will after this creep wave is down. Or maybe not. Looks like they've decided something else. Even with just the passive regen, Queen of Pain's able to farm a little bit better with the Orchid, but it really is about finding those pickoffs. Again, it's a situation, though, where neither team have great vision on the enemy side of the map. The D-words from both teams have been on point, and for the most part, they just haven't been going for it. Even without wards, though, maybe Root will be able to get a read on where Void Boys are farming and invade their woods. The smoke is going to fly out. The smoke to the Winter Wyvern, and they have level 7 on Derp. A lot of damage from the Splinter Blast, but more importantly, the Winter's Curse has been around for a couple of fights and is off of cooldown right now. The Queen of Pain needs to be a little bit careful here. The Disruptor has vision of the Queen, not a lot of the rest of the team, as Slark is going to show down towards the south. Avalanche toss! The Slark will be obliterated! Oh my goodness, Static Storm Kinetic Field keeps the Queen of Pain at bay. Bash, Laguna Blade, the Overcharge keeps her alive. Are you kidding me? Queen of Pain is getting healed up by the IO, and Stan King really able to pull that one through. With 2 points the Overcharge, with 1 point, I'm not even sure if that's enough to save Queen's life. Toss onto the Lina. The IO has since retreated. Still a good fight for Void Boys. That Slark did not see it coming. That's Patchel showing off the Blink Dagger from the Tiny. And it is such an important tool. That burst damage is ridiculous, and Slark just doesn't have the HP. He was sitting on Agility Treads, even Strength Treads probably doesn't save you there. There's just way too much from Void Boy's team. Everybody's going to contribute in some way to that combination, either just by locking in place if you're the Disruptor. The heal from the Dazzle is not an ignorable amount of damage coming out from him, especially when amped up. Good news for Root is that they have the Necronomicon 2 for the Beastmaster and a Regeneration Rune for the Queen of Pain. But really, Void Boys are the ones to start picking up a couple of kills, despite being at what would be a slight disadvantage, or a pretty major disadvantage, actually, in net worth, 4,000. But it doesn't feel like that inside the fights. And a lot of it comes down to the fact that Void Boys, even without the items on the Lina, and even without the items on the Tiny, are still able to take fights just with their raw skill kit. Their abilities are so good at getting pickoffs, even if they don't have, like, this Orchid or this Necrobook 2 that is being picked up by Root Gaming. Still Root shouldn't be sad about their position in this game, but really they have to peel apart Void Boys and find a way to draw their focus elsewhere on the map, or else they're just going to keep on losing these fights and getting jumped by the Tiny, getting jumped by the Slaughter, and now even the Yule Scepter from the Lina to open up engagements too. It's another situation where for Void Boys, they have so many heroes to start the fights where Root just aren't quite at that point. Slaughter going to bump into the Queen of Pain, but Omega Poner is incredibly fast. Even with the Tranquil Boots broken, is moving at 500 to 18 movement speed. That's so ridiculous. But Tiny, top lane, Avalanche toss, Derp, trying to fly over the trees. The Arctic Burn, is that going to save the Winter Wyvern's life? It looks like the answer is yes. Has a TP and is going to find a little perch inside the trees and make it back to safety. Another item for Root. At a certain point, these items just become too much for Void Boys. But again, it's another item that's going to be focused on going for those single target pickoffs. I think Root need to start smoking up, but in order to do that convincingly, they need to get some sort of aggressive vision on this map. It's almost dark. In fact, they have one ward down, and the Hawk is flying out now, and I suppose that is something for Root, but they need to know where the enemy team is. The ward inside their woods, although it is going to protect their farm, it feels like the farm that they've wanted to protect is pretty much there in the items that they've picked up, and Root are going to go for that smoke. They're going to involve pretty much everybody. Slark leading the charge with the Shadow Blade, but nobody to be found as Void Boys are all grouped up down in the bottom lane. Void Boys are playing 5-man Dota. They kind of have to. It is going to come at the cost of a little bit of their experience, but not enough to where they're worried about it. It's really crazy to see how close everybody is level-wise. The only one that has a lead over their lane equivalent is the Queen of Pain. All the cores are 11, all the supports are 8. Nice and symmetrical, except for you, Queen. Tier 2 for Tier 1 trade is going to favor Root Gaming. Their pushing power with this Necrobook 2 plus the ore coming out from the Beastmaster is pretty ridiculous. And although Void Boys will be able to get that tower destruction, it's not given to anybody. Beastmaster gets the last hit, and in general, that's just a much more important tower for Root. Inside the enemy woods, they might also be able to secure some wards, but not quite. Void Boys moving to Roshan. As I said in the draft, even a mediocre Roshan lineup can take it pretty quickly, but I don't think it's fast enough. Root have a lot of ways to back this fight, and Slark is going to charge in, knowing that he hasn't been spotted yet. The vision situation, the true sight situation for the side of Void Boys is looking pretty slim here. They have a couple sentries in lane. And, those wards that I'm talking about have now come out. From both sides, too. Deep one in the top lane from the Radiant side. I really like that for getting kills with Relocate. But ooh, mid lane, maybe we're looking for initiation. No, just a Mega Poner going to clear up the creep wave. With the amount of aggressive potential for both of these teams, it's pretty crazy that both of them are not able to find these opportunities. With this new ward vision, though, that's been applied, I'm guessing that we're going to have a fight sooner rather than later. And it looks like Void Boys want to force that issue. Ava tossed down the creep wave in mid. Patzel's getting close to the Aghanim Scepter. And this Queen of Pain's Orchid really hasn't done that much. She's gonna have a BKB soon. This Queen of Pain's farming very well. 164 CS on any hero at 23 minutes in the game is good, but for a Queen of Pain, that's spectacular. Still, it's just not the tempo that we usually associate with a Queen of Pain. Usually it's a tad bit faster when it comes to getting the kills and the pickoffs on the enemy side. Tiny will push down bottom lane, and both of these teams are just sitting on their side of the map. Really, nothing happening here. It's just a posturing game. Both of the teams are so good at punishing each other's positioning errors that they're both very afraid of making said errors. Dazzle getting pretty messed up. But will be able to heal himself, and now with the armor applied, he should be able to stay on this map for a little while longer. Void Boys are a little bit more constricted in their farming space than Root, and that's why the Queen of Pain now has a full BKB Orchid at 24 minutes into the game. With this BKB Orchid, I really want to see Root fight. This is not something that's going to be expected by Void Boys, at least not this early. Down towards bottom lane, Static Storm. They catch out the Slark. That's going to be the pickup that they've been waiting for quite some time, and they're going to be able to find it. Again, the Slark is just getting picked off. Usually Slark is the one that's going to be doing the picking off himself and preying on the likes of Fly. But moving the Roshan pit, they have the amp damage applied, and they're going to be able to take this out. Root Gaming have a relocate. They have a team that's pretty good at fighting inside close quarters. But are they going to be willing to make this commitment in time? Looks like they're running that way. Root are going to lead the charge of the Queen of Pains, holding on the haste rune. If she pops the BKB first and then the haste, she can have haste inside this fight, plus the magic immunity, which might be worthwhile. They'll send the Boar to scout. The Roshan is dropping low. Boar is going to right-click the Omega Poner as they crush to kill off the Boar and drop Roshan low. They need to go now. The Hawk is going to be destroyed, and the Aegis has been claimed by Void Boys. A tense situation if Root were able to get the initiation in the pit, but they're not. So that is going to be Void Boys to get the edge when it comes to objectives. And this advantage for Root is going to drastically plummet because of it. Again, it really feels like this game is so very even. Aghanim Scepter done for the Tiny. Oh, a nice leap in power for him, and also a leap when it comes to his farming speed. Right now he's getting out-farmed by the Queen of Pain, but give Patzel a couple minutes. Maybe that'll change. Lena also getting close to her Ags. Once they have the Aghanim Scepter up for the Lena, that amount of pure damage is just not something that Root can really deal with, especially the Slark. He's going to go for a Sanjin Yashi next. Oop, Blink of the high ground. Omega Poner was looking for it, but not going to find that angle. But yeah, the Sanjin Yashi on Slark, in general, a good item for the hero. Maybe a Manta style also would be really good this game to purge off the amp damage from the Slaughter, and maybe that's more likely. Regardless, he just needs stats so he can survive the burst combo. And no matter how many stat items you have, the damage from a Tiny and Lena is still going to be relevant. But can it kill you off? Down towards bottom. Ooh, narrow TP out by the Beastmaster. He's going to get his Necrobook army farmed. That in and of itself is probably about as good as a hero kill. He gets a lot of damage in this tier 2. But for a tier 2 in the offlane, I'm not sure if that's worth it for Beastmaster's Necrobook army. It's still not terrible for Root since the source of those Necro units is still alive and free to roam the battlefield. Illusion Rune going to be picked up by the Io, who has a Mechanism. Mechanism is going to be picked up on the Disruptor, and these supports are just neck and neck when it comes to their utility items. The Dazzle is a little bit behind the curve, but at least has the Medallion up and running. The big item for the supports is this Blink Dagger up on Derp Derp, even though the Winter Wyvern has next to nothing other than that, just a Soul Ring Blink Dagger. That is terrifying if you're able to catch the Tiny hitting somebody, or just very disruptive inside the fights. Another game that it seems like both of these teams have just agreed to passively farm in. At least when whenever they're not smoking. Very reminiscent of the previous match. That's an illusion. It is going to dissipate as they do throw a Thunderstrike. But that's all about the commitment for it. Root Gaming still maintain control of these lanes, but with the Avalanche Toss, they'll throw it out onto the Queen of Pain. Just not enough lockdown, and Queen of Pain hardly takes any net damage. Now the Io is left mostly alone. You have no relocate here. If it gets canceled by the Crush, and it will be, and the Io is going to be smacked to oblivion. The physical damage from a Tiny is nothing to joke about, especially when your hero only has 8 armor to begin with. Now you're stripping away 15 of that. Crazy. They're going to keep up the charge. Slaughter has ward down the ground, which I believe is inside vision, or if it's not, it's just on the edge. He's going to find the Crush Initiation on a Kappa Ross. A bash onto this Beastmaster. Long range roar into Omega Poner. They have the Dazzle behind him. Sonic Wave is going to be committed, but Omega Poner still survives. Looking for another amp. Can he survive these Necro units? He's sprinting down to low ground. Nice read coming up from the Queen of Pain. She's able to blink and scream and get out safely as they farm these Necro books. They're going to be able to get the D word, although I think it was still inside vision. Actually, it wasn't. That was just in between. But still with the Necro book, doesn't really matter all that much. One of the big advantages for Root is their ability to D ward and make Void Boys have to think twice about going for those aggressive plays. They just didn't have the vision up to be able to make that comfortably. Still an incredibly even game. 2,500 advantage for Root Gaming in net worth and less than 1,000 gold. Just a couple hundred here and there. It really means next to nothing. Slark going to bump into the Tiny and into Fly. The Disruptor is a potential kill, but with the Mechanism might be difficult, and they catch eyes onto him with a Sentry on the ground, forced to ultimate here. The Thunderstrike isn't going to... Oh, it actually gives them enough vision for the Glimpse Pack! Just on the edge, Laguna Blade, and Slark will fall. That was close. That was just the last edge of vision for them to be able to kill off that Slark. And now Tiny's coming in hot top lane. Winter Wyvern is able to blink out, has evaded detection. The Tiny had no idea that the Winter Wyvern was even there. That Thunderstrike, just one more pulse was all they need to get the Glimpse back. That was a really nice play coming out from Fly. A tad bit of luck, but blink down in the bottom lane. They're going to jump to Mega Poner. Kinetic Field is there, and the Disruptor with the mech means that they can't go for any more, especially not knowing exactly where the lean is, until of course she walks into ward vision. Winter Wyvern is here. I think she wants to go for the Blink Winter's Curse and follow up with a relocate, but who would relocate since they've already blown the Sonic Wave? 30 seconds on CD. Killing off this Tiny is almost impossible, and he has the Aegis too, so they're not going to make that choice. Although I really do like the aggressive ward vision coming out from the Radiant team, it hasn't felt like it's done that much. And, ooh, interesting. Snaking going to pick up the Octarine Core for this Lena. Can't be likened to a Bloodstone, although Bloodstone is going to give you much more consistent charges of your Fiery Soul. The cooldown reduction on your ultimate's ridiculous. 37.5 for a max out Laguna Blade. It's crazy. It's actually ridiculous. I seem to be recycling a lot of phrases today, but this one I don't really regret. It is just that good. Still, maybe going for something else might have served the Lina a little bit better, but Queen of Pain's collapsing onto the Tiny. They're going to look for the Winter's Curse. They kill off Fly first, and now going to look for Petzl. The Aegis has since expired, and the Tiny's in a lot of trouble. Your Sonic Wave will drop him down below half. The Soul Burn almost kills them. The Shallow Grave will buy him a little bit of time as the Mega Component comes in with the Crush. Even with the BKB, Queen of Pain is going to fall, and the Tiny miraculously survives. The Shadow Strike isn't lethal. The Dazzle working overtime. Winter Wyvern is going to kill off Lina with the Splinter Blast. A lot of nuke damages. Slark pounces over trees. The chase isn't over yet as he goes for Omega Poner. Crush is going to connect onto this Slark, but here's Beastmaster with Roar, and Omega Poner is going to be dropped low. This Dazzle really is working overtime, but now is going to be put to sleep by the Slark. Tiny comes in for another combo. Avatos, not enough with the mechanism. Can't get any of these kills, although they're low, and now Petzl himself will fall. A 5-man wipe as the Tiny gets a little over eager to try and capitalize. Immediately after, with the Necrobook 3 on the ground, they're going to mop up the tier 2 tower and now get some high ground damage as Void Boys have no buybacks. After such a long period of passive play, the game has been opened up. A very wide window for Root. Look at how fast that tier 3 is falling. Although the glyph is going to delay, and now the melee Necronomicon unit is down, then ranged Necronomicon unit is going to expire soon. With the overcharge on the Beastmaster even, they're going to swipe down this tower in no time. As they commit for the range barracks, they'll get it, and they probably get the melee too. Although they might consider backing off, they're actually going to look for a tier 3 tower top lane, as that has already been poked down. This is such a big strategic victory for Root. Even though they don't get the melee barracks, which is really what you'd want in that situation, they get out. And that in and of itself is probably more valuable than going for the risky play. Especially in such a close game. They're going to get the Hawk. Omega Poner is going to be able to get that last hit at the very least. But Queen of Pain now, after recently picking up that BKB, almost has an Assault Cuirass to match the one that is almost done on the Tiny. But given the pace of this game, maybe Queen of Pain even gets hers faster. I don't know. She's just 300 gold away, and Tiny still has about 1,000 gold for his. This is a great item for Queen of Pain to be able to push high ground, synergizes well with all of the other attack speed auras that they have from the Necronomicons, as well as with the Beastmasters built in. Slark, Shadowbladed, is going to open up into Snake King. Light Strike Ray is going to connect, but instantly purged off, and with the ultimate, Slark should be able to survive. He wants to stick around for this kill, stealing a lot of stats. Laguna Blade's there, Static Storm also, but he's able to walk out of the Static Storm, still enough damage. And that was just too greedy from the Slark. I don't think there's another way to put it. If we take a look at Radiant Vision, he had a pretty good idea where the enemy team wasn't, but where they were was in a spot to back up the Tiny. Yeah. They can still afford to make a over-aggressive play here or there, though, as long as Root don't lose anything major. As Winter Wyvern, they throw to Blast in mid, has a Blink Witcher's Curse, and also has Boots of Travel on Derp Derp. It's pretty scary to think of how global the Root Derp Derp is on this Winter Wyvern, as they have the Beastmaster Hawk to TP into. Out of nowhere, you might just have a Winter's Curse on your hands. That's just not something you'd be comfortable with. They Laguna Blade down the Necronomicon Warrior. Archer is going to be ripped to shreds by Snaking. He can afford to do that, but still is going to cost him a lot of mana. Snaking will accelerate himself towards that next item as they're going to look to hunt down these Beastmaster summons that are really just giving so much intel to the Radiant team on top of their already stellar map vision. With a Shadowblade on Slark, a gem feels like almost a necessity for Void Boys. But who would hold it? None of their heroes are necessarily safe. They're going to go into the Roshan pit, destroy the boar, and are they going to fully commit for this? It looks like they do. They're going to crush up this Roshan, dropping quickly. Is it quickly enough, though? The Queen of Pain can get relocated back into this fight. It looks like they are going to be able to get this for themselves. Root are not going to go for a contest. Winter's Curse is going to be thrown. Winter Wyvern going for the steal. Not successful. And now TP is top. They get the tier 3 tower for that Roshan. That's a trade that Root are not unhappy with in the slightest. And Aegis on the Tiny is something they can work around. Killing off the first time is pretty easy, and killing off a Mega Poner might also happen. 4-staff down, and the Slider will be just fine. Aurora, though, they catch out the poor Dazzle. That's going to be a very, very dead Dazzle. Trying to get a glimpse. They are going to catch the eyes on Kappa Ross. Here comes the tiny avalanche is there to keep him inside the stack. Storm Sonic Wave over the top of 3. Slark wants to look for cleanup here. The BKB still active on the Queen of Pain, but does have the amp damage applied, taking a lot of damage from the right clicks of this tiny. Laguna Blade is going to be thrown towards the north of this fight as they chase forward for the Slark. They have vision onto him. The Io is healing him up. The Queen Pain's able to blink back as they glimpse something. The Io is going to be sent home. Crush, looking for the Necronomicon Archer, not going to happen. The only casualty is that last fighter, Bob Ross and the Dazzle. That's incredibly surprising. And based on how many spells were spent, the Aegis too from the Tiny, I suppose. But not an actual death, but Derp Derps might be. He gets crushed. Are they going to catch Vision? Derp Derp, don't move a muscle. I think they might still know. But Derp Derp has evaded detection. He's fine. I don't know what you were worried about, team. He's A-okay. Laguna Blade is now Aghanim upgraded. Max level. On a 37.5 second cooldown, even with the damage nurse of previous patch, 850 pure damage is still ridiculous. So much of Slark's HP pulled down the tubes. Not quite half, but close enough to it. And you can't avoid it either. Even a Lincoln Sphere wouldn't be a reliable way to stop it. You have the Yule Scepter to pop it. Like a Thunder Strike, a very expendable way. But Omega Poner going to get opened up into him top. The Crush is going to fly, but can't quite save his life. They do catch initiation on the Queen of Pain, but she pops her BKB. Silences up the Tiny. Now Winter's Curse. Patzel is alone. He doesn't have his team behind him. The Tiny's going to get the Shallow Grave, looking for the TP afterwards. Do they really not have a way to cancel this? He'll get him out in the Laguna Blade. Slark survives, if only just. He was on agility treads. That could have been really bad if he wasn't and he dies. He'd be kicking himself, but they get the Queen of Pain. A Light Strike connects. But the Beastmaster's in mid lane, making him think twice about chasing for any more. They really need to stop this Slark and stop this Beastmaster, but they can't maintain vision of the Slark as he fades into the shadows. Beastmaster's shown himself in the bottom lane. Has Blink Dagger though, is very elusive. Slaughter in hot pursuit. Blinks after, catches eyes onto him. Caparos is going to look for the Blink north and then the TP. Force Staff Crush cancels it. Caparos is going to be stuck inside these trees, and that's where he'll lie for the next 65 seconds as he's going to be brought down by an Avalanche Toss combo from the Tiny. Blink and Crush Omega Poner is going to kill off the creep wave. And a couple of summons from the Beastmasters. The kill score has been tied 14-14. It's so hard to call this game. That ranged barracks hasn't meant as much for Root as I thought it would, and they're starting to lose a lot of momentum as this Tiny is getting stacked. Throw a Lincoln Sphere onto this Tiny and he's going to be really hard to kill off inside these fights. They rely on the Roar and the Winter's Curse to be able to do it, and unlike the side of Void Boys, they don't have too many great single target ways to bring that Lincoln's off of him. Really the only expendable ones, the Splinter Blast from the Winter Wyvern is very good, don't get me wrong. And also the Dagger from the Queen of Pain is pretty nice. But they're just a little too slow incoming to get the instant initiation that they really want. I wouldn't be opposed to Tiny picking up something other than the Lincoln Sphere, but if they want to go for a high ground siege soon, that'll probably be the choice. If he wants to play the split push game, Boots of Travel Moonshard on the Tiny is definitely not bad. Or just another HP item. I'm not sure what exactly that'd be, but a Satanic also not a terrible choice for the Tiny. Butterfly also holds merit as a great attack speed item that'll help a man fight the Slark, but whatever it is, it's going to be coming up soon, with 4,300 gold in the bank now. Lena going to catch eyes on the Queen of Pain, moving at max movement speed or near enough. Catches the Yule Scepter. Light Strike Array soon to follow. There's a BKB available. Will be popped by the Queen of Pain. Laguna Blade is there, and Queen of Pain has to book it. The Crush is going to fly, not going to connect. Queen of Pain's BKB is looking mighty low in duration. Down to 6 seconds. Still has one higher than 5-second charge as they catch out fly in mid. They'll not be able to get the kill on the Queen of Pain. And they are going to lose the support, but Avatos. The Slark is going to be fighting up against the Tiny with the Craggy. I don't think he can get this convincingly. Arctic Burn is going to fly, but with the Light Strike Array being primed up by that Yules, and now a toss, the Winter Wyvern is going to be cratered. Crush in to stop the backup. Here's the Sonic Wave. The Shallow Grave still lasts on to Patzel. Can the Tiny make his retreat here? It's going to blink disjoint that dagger. Winter Wyvern buys back to Boots of Travel inside this fight. As he get the curse on that Tiny, buyback worth it for the support, and now they get Snake King. There's buyback in the lead, there's buyback in the Tiny. They need to spend it now as their Dazzle's getting dove. TP attempt, can you cancel it? Doesn't even matter, just go for the racks. The melee Necronomicon unit's going to get some chip on the range. That's about all that they can hope for with the double buyback being spent. Root can still go in, but their fight is much less convincing without the Sonic Wave, without the Winter's Curse, and without the Roar. But maybe it's enough. Again, that double attack speed or the Assault Cuirass plus the Inner Beast is ridiculous on Slark in particular. He gets so much stacks of essence inside the fight, up to 16 right now. Although not super impressive, is still more than enough to put enough damage to where Void Boys have to use the glyph. And they will. Now on cooldown for 5 minutes, if that happens again in favor of Root, they take high ground towers, or barracks. Both the melee in mid and top survive. But if one of these falls, the game gets so much harder for Void Boys, because the next one will probably fall soon after. They're so exposed. Tiny is going to go for a Crystallis. Alright, this is an option that I didn't talk about, but still is one of the best ways for Tiny just to get raw amounts of damage. And it feels like Void Boys are missing a little bit of that. It's so weird to say when you have the Aghanim Laguna Blade when you have a Slaughter on your team. But they need to get these kills very quickly if their supports are dying as fast in the fights. And they are. And I don't think there's much you can do to stop it if you're the Disruptor. Disruptor does have a gem, though. So does Root, to be fair. But it is just very important to be able to keep tabs on the Slark and to be able to deny vision away from the enemy team. When you're behind, it's mandatory, even though risky. It's a risk you have to make. Oh, they catch eyes on Slark. Static Storm is there. They have a glimpse back to pull him back in. If they can maintain this vision, this time the Thunderstruck is not going to last long enough for them to be able to pull him back. Static Storm on cooldown, but not the biggest of deals for their side. What might be is the fact that Roshan is going to be coming back up relatively soon. In about a minute or so till we know for sure. I didn't see the timer the first time around. Apologies. Smoke is purchased by the Disruptor. This is a good time for both of the teams to fight if they can find a good angle on the enemy. If they're able to get the jump, if they're able to take the fight, taking Roshan soon after is very easy for the team with the Slaughter and for the team with the Assault Cuirass and the Beastmaster. Roshan doesn't stand long against either lineup. Things have slowed. Top lane is pushing in, and Void Boys need to make sure that they don't sustain heavy damage onto that melee barracks. They need to keep these lanes pushed out. It looks like Lina is going to be going for a Shiva's next. Fair enough. Armor is very important at this stage in the game for the Lina. She's very tanky, but is she doing enough damage? Maybe. The Laguna Blades have been good, but it kind of feels like they're going to need Lina to be able to do a little bit of right click, and for that to happen they need Slaughter to have amp applied to somebody, but right now Slaughter is looking for a jump in mid. Dire team get the crush, they catch out the Slark and he can't do anything. He has no BKB, can't get out of this storm, and it is going to be the death of him. BKB pop by the Slaughter, they get the amp onto the IO, are going to change focus onto the Winter Wyvern, canceling Winter's TP and ending the Winter Wyvern's life. There is no buyback for Void Boys. There are 4 Void Boys to worry about coming out from Root, and they're going to get the IO too. Stand King, Laguna Blade. Whether necessary or not is not going to worry the Lina too much. 3 kills, unanswered. Void Boys get the perfect jump, and that was just really nice by the Slidar. A good read. He catches out the perfect angle. And even without the BKB, Tiny's still able to do enough. The Winter's Curse was thrown onto the Tiny, but with BKB applied on the Slidar, he didn't care about it at all, and they didn't need much more damage to get that kill. Dazzle. Oh, looks like you're getting picked off. I don't see a way out of this for the Dazzle. Queen of Pain's gonna get that kill, but putting herself at a little bit of risk here. Gonna fight against the Slidar, winning this man fight. No, Mega Opponent is going to be repelled as the Tiny is taking out your tier 2 tower in mid. Now the Tiny's back, Queen of Pain needs to TP. They have perfect vision ever, but can't quite get in range to cancel it. Nice play all around coming out from the Queen. She's been playing things a little bit risky, but that's now going to start paying off. She has the Scotty and Assault Cuirass. Is actually a very potent right-click damage dealer inside these fights. Scotty against the Tiny and against the Slaughter is very good. Slaughter kills a melee Necronomicon unit, or at least that's what I expect that damage output to have been, given the cooldown of Necrobook. A Dazzle kill isn't going to slow down this game any more than it was already slowed. It really just doesn't change the pace of anything. Roshan is up. Both teams can take it very quickly, but neither team wants to commit into the pit against like a Static Storm, against a Winter's Curse, and against the Chorus too. They're dealing a lot of damage in AoE. Crush! They kill the Hawk. That's about the most exciting thing that's probably going to happen for a little bit. We're just waiting for somebody to pull the trigger and for somebody to stick around inside this Roche pit. And it looks like Queen of Pain is flirting with the idea of doing this Roshan. Drops him down about 500 HP. Just saying hello as everybody blinks out. This is a posturing game from Void Boys and Root. Whoever gets out of position is going to lose the fight. And right now, Void Boys are smoking into the enemy side of the map, grouped up fairly tightly. Maybe they kill off this Queen. They're going to open up. Blink, crush, the follow-up from the Static Storm. Queen of Pain is locked down onto the floor for a long time. Laguna Blade with Winter's Curse. Maybe they can kill off this Tiny, but nobody's focusing because of the BKB on Omega Poner. Now the Crush connecting on the Slark. The Queen of Pain needs to retreat. They don't get enough crits from the Tiny in order to get that kill. Now the Slark also needs to book it. They're going to have a Cold Embrace onto Derp. They bring Queen of Pain back in. She gets crushed down. Oh, no. Not what the IO wanted to be doing. I thought IO would just come back alone, but the Queen of Pain was not ready for that. Right into a crush. The good news for Root is the fact that Beastmaster's been pushing in the top lane, has been keeping the mid lane also pressured. But Void Boys get a Roshan. There's no buyback for the Queen of Pain, no buyback from the Wyvern. This is a big window of opportunity for Void Boys after just one good fight. And it is just the late game power of their heroes that comes into play. Roar onto Snaking. The Lina dropping low has no mana to do anything as she gets mauled by a Slark. Moonshard's Slark is disgusting for how much essence he's able to steal, and so quickly too. Omega Poner gets the crush, but you need to retreat here as the Slark is going to continue chasing as they're getting the melee barracks. Just one pickoff and the Lina has no buyback since she spent it about 6 minutes ago. Avalanche will fly onto the Slark. They'll try to kill these Necronomicon units and they will succeed. This barracks is so low, the catapult isn't going to be able to do it. Survives on double digits HP. And now with the glimpse back, you can't retreat. Beastmaster with a couple more shots, and now they're going to be able to bring him down, committing in. The Slark wants it. He gets it at the cost of his own life, but they get the first melee barracks down. It's something, but now they have to deal with the snapback. Void Boys have the Aegis the Immortal on this Tiny. They have a Lotus Orb on this Slardar, and they're ready and willing to go for this push. Boots of Travel also on the Tiny. This is a window where Void Boys can look to make something happen, but without their Lina, it's going to be really hard. And Slark, at worst case scenario, has to buy back here. He doesn't want to, but he at least has that option. Void Boys will push down mid. The Tiny's able to mop up these creep waves pretty quickly. And Void Boys are the ones that now have the opportunity to push, even though Root do get a victory by taking out that melee barracks. Such an even game. That 12,000, even 14,000 advantage in the favor of Root and net worth meant next to nothing. It really was just all down to initiation, and Void Boys found it in that last fight. The extra gold they have just isn't meaning anything at 48 minutes in the game. It tends to really have a lessened impact on the game. How much farm you have. Oh, they force staff in Derp. Nicely done, Omega Poner. Good aggressive force staff. Not something you see incredibly often, but when it works, that's awesome. It really is quite cool to see. They're going to get a melee barracks of their own in bottom lane, but the cost of a tier 3 in bot. Did I say bottom lane when they were pushing mid? Tiny's just going for the tier 4s. Are they going to really outrace Root? This feels risky, but with the Aegis Immortal on Tiny possible, the Laguna Blade into the Slark, and they'll bring him down. Buybacks galore. Sonic Wave over the top. This Queen of Pain is trucking with the Scotty, trying to bring down the Dazzle. Gets a bash onto the Queen of Pain, but with the Blink Force, she's able to kill off one. Cheese pop by Snaking. Blink in, looking for the lockdown. The Slaughter's going to get the crush. Queen of Pain will fall. Has buyback available. Needs to go for it now. Void Boys buyback on the Disruptor. This is all in from Void Boys. If they lose some heroes now, it could all be over. Queen of Pain's blinking in. The Aegis is no longer there for the Tiny. He has buyback, so that's the one that they're able to lose. But if the Slardar dies, if the Lina dies, they don't have it. 16 gold short for the Slardar, and Omega Poner barely slips off into the shadows. But ranged barracks are going to be destroyed in mid. Melee barracks and ranged have been taken in bottom. And Void Boys now are in a situation where they have not much of a base left. This melee barracks is hanging on by a thread. And now it's Root to go for the snapback. There's buyback in the Lean. There's buyback in the Slardar. The crucial heroes from the Radiant team don't have it. The Beastmaster is the only one for their side, but they have a double damage Queen of Pain. They can taste this victory on their lips. Are they going to go for it? Looks like no. Take things slow and steady. Slow things down. Don't get over ambitious. Take the Ancient Sack, sure. But you don't have to risk losing the advantage that you just made, and it is huge. A 2 barracks advantage, although something that Void Boys can push against with the natural wave clear coming out from Negative Scepter Tiny and the nuking power and the physical damage coming out from the Lina too. Root at the end of the day have 2 barracks ahead and have an exposed barrack, the only one in mid. The you'd call it a barracks. Sorry for messing up my plurals. Still, it's the only thing that's standing between them and Mega Creeps, and although possible to come back from Mega Creeps, very difficult. Smoked up through mid. Void Boys might catch on initiation. Equally, the Radiant team really don't have that much buyback power. They're going to get the crush, catch out the Queen of Pain, and the Winter Wyvern. Winter Wyvern drops like a rock. BKB Papa, the Queen of Pain, is going to start right-clicking down Omega Opponent, but just isn't quite doing the damage. The Wisp is going to be relocating back into this fight. Laguna Blade is going to be thrown. Stark gets up to the high ground. He's going to be fine, but Wisp not so lucky. They have vision with the amp damage. Sentry drop down for good measure. Double kill for the Tiny, and Void Boys are going down mid lane. Their base is being flooded by these creeps. Root have boots of travel, or they don't have boots of travel on their Queen of Pain, but they do have them on their Beastmaster. Still on cooldown though. The Queen of Pain's going to try to base trade, but you can't base trade against this Tiny. He has another Hyperstone. They need to stop this now. They're taking out the tier 4s now, focusing down the throne. Root need to initiate. They need to jump in. The Slark is going to try his best. Sonic Wave over the top, but Bob Ross, or Kappa Ross rather, is going to be demolished. Poor guy. There's no buyback in the Slark, and Void Boys are going to do it, taking out first game. GG. As they take down the Ancient. Well played, Void Boys. Showing the power of initiation, even though they were down a huge advantage against Root. At a certain point, it looked like Root could have taken it all. They had the bottom lane push going their way. They had a really big team fight in their favor, and then just nothing. It slows down to a screeching halt. And with that slower pace, it doesn't really favor either team. It feels like everything's kind of even when it comes to tempo, and that favors the team that's defending against those super creeps. And Void Boys are going to come out with the victory. It's only game number 1 though. Moving on to game number 2, who knows what's going to happen? Void Boys versus Root coming your way shortly. I've been Grant SV. See you soon.